The Covina massacre occurred on December 24, 2008, in Covina, a city in the suburbs of Los Angeles, California, United States. 9 people were killed from either gunshot wounds or an arson fire inside a house where a Christmas Eve party was being held. The perpetrator, 45-year-old Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, who was dressed in a Santa suit while in the house, committed suicide from a gunshot wound to the head at his brother's residence in the early morning hours after the attack. Authorities have cited marital problems as a possible motive for the violence. Reports indicate Pardo's divorce had been finalized December 18, 1 week prior to the massacre. 3 people, believed to be Pardo's ex-wife and his former in-laws, officially remain missing pending identification of the bodies. Attack. At approximately 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, dressed in a Santa Claus suit, knocked on the door of his former in-law's house, occupied with about 25 people, with a gift-wrapped package, containing a homemade flamethrower, in one hand and a semi-automatic handgun in the other hand. He also had 3 additional semi-automatic handguns in his possession. When the door opened, Pardo fired the handgun at an 8-year-old girl as she ran to greet him, injuring her in the face. He then fired indiscriminately at fleeing partygoers. Police speculate that Pardo may have stood over and pointedly executed some of the victims, using the other handguns. After the shootings, Pardo unwrapped the package containing the homemade flamethrower, and used it to spray racing fuel gasoline to set the home ablaze. 9 people died from either gunfire or flames, and 3 others were wounded. The 8-year-old girl who was shot in the face with severe but non-life-threatening injuries, a 16-year-old girl shot and wounded in the back, and a 20-year-old woman who suffered a broken ankle jumping out of the second-floor window. There was one survivor who called the authorities during the attack after escaping to a neighbor's house. The resulting fire soared approximately 40 to 50 feet and took 80 firefighters an hour and a half to extinguish. Due to the intensity of the fire, identification of the victims had been done by referencing dental and medical records. After the attack, Pardo put on his street clothes and drove his Dodge Caliber rental car to his brother's house in Sylmar, approximately 30 miles away from the crime scene, where he was later found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His brother was not present in the home at the time of Pardo's death. It was initially believed that Pardo intended to flee to Canada by plane as he had bought an airline ticket to a flight on Air Canada. However, subsequently it was discovered the flight was from Los Angeles to Moline, Illinois, with a layover in Minnesota. Pardo had called days before to tell his high school friend that he was planning to visit, but investigators are unsure if he intended to go or if the flight was to fool investigators. He had visited the friend before in October 2008. However, due to suffering from severe third-degree burns on his arm stemming from the blaze, he decided to go against the initial plan. Police found $17,000 in cash cling-wrapped on his legs inside a girdle, and his rental car that had been parked 1 block from his brother's house, which had been rigged by remnants of his Santa suit that would ignite a flame and detonate the car with black powder if removed. Also recovered from the scene were 4 13-round capacity handguns that were each empty, and at least 200 rounds of ammunition, suggesting that what had been inside the car was being treated as a threat. A bomb squad fired an incendiary device into it, destroying and burning it. At Pardo's house in Montrose, police had recovered 5 empty boxes for semi-automatic handguns, 2 shotguns, and a container for high-octane fuel tank gasoline. Fatalities. At least 3 victims' deaths were caused by gunshot wounds alone, while 4 others died from a combination of both gunshot wounds and fire. 2 other deaths stemmed from the fire alone. The victims include: Name, Age. Notes. Sylvia Ortega Pardo. 43, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo's ex-wife. Alicia Ortega. 70, Sylvia Pardo's mother. Joseph Ortega. 80, Sylvia Pardo's father. Charles Ortega. 49, Sylvia Pardo's brother. Sherry Ortega. 45, Charles Ortega's wife. James Ortega. 51, Sylvia Pardo's brother. Teresa Ortega. 52, James Ortega's wife. Alicia Ortega Ortiz. 46, Sylvia Pardo's sister. Michael Ortiz. 17, Alicia Ortiz's son. December 25, 2008. Covina, California. AP, a man wearing a Santa suit who had been suffering marital problems opened fire at a Christmas party at a house that then caught fire, leaving more than 3 people dead, authorities said Thursday. Hours later, police found the body of the suspect, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, 45, at the home of his brother early Thursday in the Sylmar area of Los Angeles. Police said he killed himself but would not say how. He was going through some type of marital problems, and we believe that this residence is a relative's residence, Lieutenant Pat Buchanan said. Police in Italy said 3 people were dead in the shootings and fire late Wednesday. Ed Winter of the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office said Thursday that investigators sifting through the ashes of the house found more bodies, but would not say how many. The bodies were too badly burned to immediately determine whether they died in the shootings or the fire, Winter said. We have multiple bodies inside, Winter said. They're extremely charred and burned. The gunman arrived at the party in Covina late Wednesday and immediately opened fire with a handgun, Buchanan said. Witnesses told police that the man took off the Santa suit and left the scene of the burning house in street clothes. Winter said the search through the destroyed home would take at least until the end of the day. Jan Gregory, a neighbor, said about 25 people were at the party when the gunshots rang out and people started running by the house. She said she saw a teenage boy run from the house screaming, "They shot my family." Buchanan says 3 other people were injured. A woman in her 20s and an 8-year-old girl had gunshot wounds that were not life-threatening, and a third person had a broken ankle. Police received several 911 calls with reports of shots fired at 11:30 p.m. Wednesday night, and were still hearing gunshots after they arrived and found the house in flames, Buchanan said. At first, firefighters were held back by police because shots were still being fired, though it may have been ammunition burning in the blaze, Fire Captain Mike Brown said. Firefighters had extinguished the blaze by about 1:30 a.m. Thursday, Fire Captain Mike Brown said. The 2-story home on a cul-de-sac was destroyed in Covina, a quiet suburb 25 miles east of Los Angeles. This neighborhood is really quiet, said Jeffrey Barrientos, who lives half a block from the house that burned. Barrientos said the neighborhood's residents were mostly retirees and elderly people. December 25, 2008. Covina, California. AP, a man wearing a Santa suit who had been suffering marital problems opened fire at a Christmas party at a house that then caught fire, leaving more than 3 people dead, authorities said Thursday. Hours later, police found the body of the suspect, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, 45, at the home of his brother early Thursday in the Sylmar area of Los Angeles. Police said he killed himself but would not say how. He was going through some type of marital problems, and we believe that this residence is a relative's residence, Lieutenant Pat Buchanan said. Police in Italy said 3 people were dead in the shootings and fire late Wednesday. Ed Winter of the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office said Thursday that investigators sifting through the ashes of the house found more